So I'm going to show you how to use a lookup table today to make sure that you can get data from one spreadsheet onto another. So maybe you have a departmental spreadsheet where you've got everything centralized, but you have a separate spreadsheet for some inputted data. Or maybe you've taken some data from Google Classroom, you've downloaded it onto a Google Sheet, and now you want to input that into your departmental spreadsheet. Could be anything. So where you've got two spreadsheets and you now need to take the data from one spreadsheet and to put into another. So the first thing you need is to have the two spreadsheets. Now I've got my spreadsheets in split screen. If you want to use split screen, I would suggest you have a little search about how to use that on your device. So I've got my two spreadsheets on split screen to start me off. Now, the first thing you need to do is you need to make sure that there is something common between the both spreadsheets. Now, I have got data with 243 students. Now, with 243 students, we've got the similar surnames, we've got similar first names, we've even got students who've got exactly the same name. So using the name, the first name or the second name, isn't going to be worthwhile with 243 students, or you might even have something much bigger. So you want something that will work for everything. So I'm using a specific candidate number. So the student ID number is what I'm using because on my two spreadsheets, I have got them. So on this spreadsheet here, you can see the student ID number here. And again, if I scroll along, I have got the same number here. And this number is the same for every kid. It's an individual number, so you need to have something that matches. So it might be an admin number, it might be a candidate number, whatever, but you do need to have something that matches, otherwise the table won't know what to look up. So that's the first thing. I found something that's common so I know what I'm exactly going to look up. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is you need to make that your first table, for your first column in the spreadsheet you're going to put the data in. So I am going to put the data in this spreadsheet here on the left. So I'm going to add in another column. Okay, and I want to put that student ID number in that column. So because they're in exactly the same rows, there's no change in my data, I am just going to input them. Now, all I've done is press equals, clicked on the cell I want, and there it is. Scroll that down, fill that down, all the way down to the bottom, and there isn't any change in the data, and that will move with the data if I filter it. One thing some people would do maybe is that they might put a filter on. So going into filter, and then you could order these in number order and maybe do the same on the other one, copy and paste. Now what happens is when you copy and paste, you can't be guaranteed that the same number order, I mean, I know in theory it should work, but I wouldn't stick with that, especially when you've got names and it's just, I wouldn't go with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do a lookup table. Now, first of all, this spreadsheet you can see is like full of stuff that we don't need. I'm just going to hide the stuff I don't want. Okay, so I want to compare this grade and a new one that I'm putting in. So all I'm doing is clicking hide. Okay, so here I've got one set of data. Now all I've done so that this spreadsheet doesn't have any students' names in, I've just called every student's surname student, and they've got a number. So that number there is their first name. Okay, just so that we don't have any data problems. Now on my other spreadsheet you can see I've got loads of data here. I've done the same thing. I've just deleted all the students' names here. So this was student data. So I've got data here. And what I want to do is I want to know what grade they got here for each student. So I want to take this data from this spreadsheet and put it into this spreadsheet. Now you could use a lookup table across two spreadsheets, but if you move one of the spreadsheets from a different folder or you take it somewhere else, it can cause problems with your spreadsheet. So what I would suggest you do is you copy one data onto the other spreadsheet. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to click in this top corner, copy all of this data, and I'm going to put it into this spreadsheet. Okay, so I've got all my data from one table into another. from one spreadsheet onto another. I have hidden loads of the cells just to make it really nice and easy for me to see. So I want this to become my lookup table. Now you need to start the lookup table with the thing you want to look up. Okay, so I am looking up the student ID, so I'm going to go all the way down here, and I'm going to name this lookup. In my spreadsheet here, I'm going to give it a title, new data from that other spreadsheet. So we're going to use our VLOOKUP formula, so equals VLOOKUP, open brackets. We're going to look up this student ID number onto our other lookup table, so comma. We need to type in the name of the table, so I just called it lookup, didn't I? Comma. Now I can't remember which column it was I wanted to look up, so I'm just going to put 1 in for now, and I want it to be an exact match, so I'm going to type in false. Now, close brackets, enter. Right, so that's just given me the first column, so that's giving me my student ID. So you can see that that student ID here should match this student ID. But really what I wanted was how many over. So I wanted this one here. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5. So I want the 5th column. So I'll go into this one and change that 1 to number 5. Okay, and that will give me my data. Fill it down, job done. Now, you can use the Formula 1 button to do exactly the same thing, okay? And you can type in, find the VLOOKUP, and it will tell you how to follow through. So that could be a simpler way for you to understand how to do the formula. But I think in order for you to understand how to fix problems, because there's always problems, you need to know what it's actually doing in the process. But the formula button will help you do the same thing. So what you want to look up, the name of the table, which column you want to look up, and whether you want it to be true or false, whether you want it to be exact or approximate. Okay, so the final thing I want to show you today is how to do something called conditional formatting. So conditional formatting will just highlight cells based on certain rules. So all I'm going to use is a conditional formatting to highlight the students that are cause for concern. Okay, now I would suggest you don't use too much conditional formatting, because it does make an extra lot of data in your spreadsheet. So conditional formatting, so you want a certain rule. So I want just to highlight any that says in this column here, cause for concern. So text that contains cause of concern. Okay. Now, manage my rule. So I want this to happen in just this one here. Okay, and there we go. All of the students that are a cause for concern are highlighted in red. Okay, so that's a little thing to do. You might want to, just so to streamline your spreadsheet, just click on the bottom and hide that lookup table. So you've got a bit of a more streamlined spreadsheet. And that's it. If you found this video helpful at all, just give it a like and let me know if there's anything else I can help you with.